So I don't usually make, political pronouncements because I don't find that my political pronouncements, though I keep myself informed, are any more valid than anybody else's. That just because I can come out and play a Beethoven sonata in front of 2,000 people.
Hello, I'm Paavo Järvi, music director of the Tonhalle Orchestra Zurich. Welcome to Tram for Two, a series where I take my guests on a tram ride through Zurich. Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of Tram for Two. Our very special guest today is also our focus artist, Kirill Gernstein. Welcome to the tram.
Wonderful to be on a trip with you here at Zurich.
How often do you take public transport?
In Berlin quite often, and we have wonderful transport system there, and the Zurich trams is something that
It's famous. We have played together a lot lately. Last time we did
Shostakovich 2
in San Francisco, yes. And being that you are coming from Russian-speaking culture or Russia, do you feel special affinity with this music, or you feel that it's just one of many?
I think both, of course. I don't like to think that a certain nation or national culture has access to certain music, because then we have some terrible interpretations by Russian musicians of Russian music, and we have some wonderful interpretations by, say, Americans of French music, whatever. So I think that can be mixed and is mixed. On the other hand, it would be dishonest to say that, for example, with music of Rachmaninoff, that I don't recall in my childhood, hearing the a cappella choir in a Russian Orthodox church, or just something that somehow is linked intrinsically in your childhood memories. So the answer is yes, but on the other hand, I think music is accessible from all sides.
I feel exactly the same way with Nordic music. The people say, oh yeah, you're born in Estonia, of course, Sibelius is like second nature. Sibelius was not something that we grew up with. For some reason it was played relatively seldom, but as you said, when I hear it, somehow I feel a certain sense of home. As a global citizen, as you are, how important for you is to be involved in the world events?
Of course, it's important in the sense that it's something that I think about and grapple with, and I think this might be even a train ride, a long conversation, not just a tram, because the topic is
Train for Two is next.
Yeah, Train for Two, that we discuss music in its relation to society and politics. So I think music, and for musicians, of course, we are connected. We are part of the social fabric, and this is a kind of a platitude to state. On the other hand, I do feel some cautious reservation about the fact that generally experts in one field are then often thinking and feeling that it gives them the rights or justification to make proclamations about any number of other areas
which they have no idea about
of life. And in that sense, I keep that reservation. So I don't usually make political pronouncements, because I don't find that my political pronouncements, though I keep myself informed, are any more valid than anybody else's. That just because I can come out and play a Beethoven sonata in front of 2,000 people. So I've done projects like this. One of the recent recordings called Music in Time of War, where I wanted to highlight the Armenian genocide and recorded the music of Komitas, and it's very much connected to today's life and events, because the Armenian genocide, as you know, is still not recognized universally.
Yes, I totally understand this. Some of the guests on this tram have said, for me, music and politics are separate. Others are very much involved in connecting music and politics and social issues, and there is always, of course, a gray area. Most of the people recognize that it's a privilege to have some kind of a platform. This is not anything in comparison to a pop or a rock artist, but we do have an audience, and therefore we have a little bit larger capacity to relay the message, if there is a message, and of course there are now, in the world that we live in, one has to spend a lot of time trying to figure out which cause to go for, because it seems like so many things require attention, from Gaza to Ukraine to madness that's happening across the ocean. So, do you do any teaching?
Yes, teaching is,
I knew the answer to it.
yeah, but I'm glad you asked. It's a very important part of my life, and it's been a very important part of my life since early on. I started teaching when I was about 25. So I teach my piano class in Hans Eisler in the Hochschule in Berlin, and I teach string players and chamber music at the Kronberg Academy near Frankfurt. I do feel that also I've had wonderful teachers that spent a lot of time with me. And as we know, music teaching, so much of it, or most of it, is one-on-one. So I've had so much time with smartest people that I most admired. And so I do feel it is right that they spend so much time with me. I should spend some time, and the musical tradition, as we know, is an oral tradition. There's so much that you cannot read in a book, and you cannot learn from a YouTube video. You can learn very much, but there is something about this living exchange. And in this sense, I'm also taken with a concept that I read about in martial arts, that it is thought there, as I have read, that to be progressing as a student of the art, as we all are, you at some point need to also become a teacher of the art, and that the two are connected, that you don't progress as a student and practitioner if you're not also a teacher.
What is your relationship to the media and recording media, and what do you think about, let's say, the importance of recording?
For whom? For the listeners, or for us as practitioners? Yeah, I think for me, I feel similar to teaching, that it has become an essential part of the creative process, and I find it's an interesting creative process. As you know, have made so many great recordings. I think it's very different than a live performance creative process. It's related, but it's different. And I think it's to view it not as you're trying to capture a perfect live performance on microphone, but it's a different genre.
Exactly. I agree with you.
And I think that adds something to the general music making and general being.
The other thing is, of course, also writing a little bit. A composer will write a piece, and if it's a good composer, he writes his name, so to speak, into the music history in some way. Not even history, but at least he exists somehow. As performers, I think we evaporate unless there is something that one can listen to. And now we have that opportunity, so why not?
Yeah, so it's this desire for immortality that's very human.
There is also nothing wrong with it.
It's very human. No, there's no.
That's why we are having children.
Yeah, and also I must say I am so grateful, and as I'm sure you are, for now 100+ years of recorded legacy, and that we can hear how Furtwängler conducted and how Busoni played, and these are great teachers.
Thank you, Kirill. That was a wonderful ride.
Thank you.
See you in episode 20. Like and subscribe. See you soon.